Welcome to episode 8 of the Inside Drive. We'll be joined by Coach Michelle Mask from the Mosley Varsity Volleyball team. Jay Hendley is always on Thursdays, and my wife making her first ever podcast appearance. We're going to talk a little bit about Coach Mask's career as a volleyball coach, but also kind of dive into the topic of brain cancer and kind of share some things that hopefully create some awareness and that good stuff. You know, obviously something so horrible, maybe we can spread some good out of it, and that's kind of our goal with today's show. Do have to mention our sponsors first. Start with Golf Plus. Obviously, everybody knows where Golf Plus is, located in the Edgewater Shopping Plaza. They have a repair shop and a club fitting shop, second to none. Speaking of club repair, they have a special going on right now. If you mention the Inside Drive podcast, you can buy 10 grips and get the 11th free. Ooh. Jay, tell everybody how important the grips, not just the grip, but the actual physical grip on the golf club is.
Well, it's the only connection to the club,
Absolutely.
So, I mean, from the body, so it's super important.
Very important. And maybe it's been a hot summer, so if you've left your clubs in the car quite a bit, those grips might have been worn a little bit. Weather's finally starting to turn beautiful. Alan's got this great special going on right now to hopefully get some new grips on your set of clubs to prepare you for beautiful fall golf. As I always mention, they have been featured in Golf and Golf Digest magazines as the top club fitters in the country, and they certainly do deserve it. You can check them out at the shops at Edgewater next to Firefly. Give them a call at 850-249-2726 or visit golfplusretail.com. And, of course, always got to mention our good banking friends. That's Panhandle Credit Union. The quality relationships they have with our community is what Panhandle Credit Union is all about. Whether it is sponsoring an event, donating to a cause, providing loan options, or setting people up with great banking products, Panhandle Credit Union is here to serve those who live, work, worship, or attend school in Bay and other surrounding counties. Together, Panhandle Credit Union builds community. Visit panhandlecu.org or swing by any location to join. All right, I am excited about today's show. We have a special guest today. She's been a head volleyball coach for over 28 total years. Most recently has been at the Mosley Dolphins High School for the last 14 years as their head coach. Obviously very, very successful. We're going to talk to her a little bit about what's been going on with the Mosley volleyball program, and then maybe talk about some of the things going on just with athletics generally in the country. And, of course, we've got Jay here, as we always do on Thursday. Jay, you guys got a big game coming up this weekend.
Oh, boy, Tennessee.
Okay, I was about to say, do you even know who you're playing?
I do.
Okay, good. And then, of course, I'm excited to have Beth Mulvey, my wife, on the show. She's my caregiver, my support, my advocate, and it's going to be a fun, interesting conversation today, and I'm looking forward to diving into it here in just a little bit. But before we get to that, let's start with Coach Mask. Coach, you've been coaching at Mosley for 14 years, 28 total years in volleyball head coaching. What got you into coaching volleyball?
Well, I played a little college ball, nothing too major, but
hey. Any next level play is next level play.
Absolutely. And, my daughter got into it, and, here we are 28 years still coaching. And, we're from Central Florida, but we moved to California and to Texas. My husband's he works for federal law enforcement, and so it's moved us a little bit. And
Gotcha.
Moved here 15 years ago, and, just kind of jumped in and was helping out at Bay Haven, and kid went to high school and kind of followed her over, and the rest is history. So
nice.
Yep.
Very, very, very cool. So it kind of landed, you may have another, move here sometime
No,
in the future.
no, this is it. This is it.
So
yeah,
he's done,
we
that's
love
awesome.
Bay County, and I will tell you, we love Bay County. We're not going anywhere.
We do too. The people of Bay County are wonderful, wonderful human
Amen
beings,
to that.
and
Absolutely.
it's a special place to live, no doubt about it. Going back a few years, in 2021, your team won the 5A state championship. That was a first for two reasons: a first state championship in volleyball for Mosley, but also the first time ever a volleyball team from Bay County had won a state championship.
You've done your research. Yes, it was a big deal, big deal.
What was so special about that team?
I will tell you, we had 3 seniors that year. It was, unfortunately with high school sports, especially women in general, you get 15 young ladies on a team, there's bound to be a little bit of drama. It's just, you just can't help it. But I will tell you, that year, those girls the leadership on that team, I didn't know anything. I mean, they handled it in-house. They took care of business, and we just performed. And that was the nice thing about that team that year, is just like we showed up every day and everybody wanted it. We had a vision from day one. We put it on the dry erase board. We set goals for the year, and we just checked them off. Every time we hit one, we just checked it off, and we stayed focused on it. And that was kind of the mission. And we didn't let the outside noise
Yeah.
kind of interfere. And I always talk about be above the noise.
Absolutely.
You just got to be above it, and they really did that very well that year.
Well, and that's just so great to hear because sports, business, life in general, if you can't have everybody working towards that same goal like you just talked about, there's no way to be successful. And you've seen it on teams. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to it, some of the teams you've coached,
Yeah.
Jay, if there's just everybody's not working towards that same goal and like you just said, the noise is becoming greater than the team. I'm just glad to hear that they were able to, you had enough leadership on that team for them to kind of just handle that. And that didn't get in the way, and obviously led to some serious success, going all the way down to come back in the in that state championship match, right, against Fleming Island.
It's honestly, I had people tell me to this day it's probably one of the greatest comebacks. I can't say in sports history. Obviously, that's a big ask.
We'll say in Mosley sports history.
Well, I will tell you in probably Florida high school volleyball. That was probably one of the biggest comebacks. We were down 0-2 in volleyball. It's best 3 out of 5 sets, and they had game point on us 3 times in that third set. So three times. And it's funny. I always tell people a joke. I called a timeout, and I preach stay calm and control.
Yeah.
That's my mission is just stay calm and control. Don't get caught up in the drama, the noise, the chaos. And so I called a timeout, and we kind of brought everybody in, and we're huddled in there, and I'm making everybody look at me, and I'm talking through kind of like, all right, we're back in our gym. I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
We're in our gym. It's our pep club. It's our parents. Nobody else is here. And so I'm talking through it. I'm telling everybody to close their eyes. And later, I found out everybody thought we were praying, which we probably should have been. But the truth was, I was walking through a visual exercise to kind of put them back in our gym. But anyway, we came back and we won. And I had people, and a lot of people don't realize they actually had rolled out the trophy, the medals, everything for the other team to hand those out in the third set. And the game wasn't over.
That's a jinx if I've ever heard one.
And I remember the principal told me later, him and the athletic director were standing there, and they looked at the people and they were like, not sure why you guys got that out quite yet. And we came back, and it was, it's the Rocky music. You hear like the build up, dun, 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 like, and it was incredible.
You just can't make it up. If you were to draw it up on a piece of paper, it probably wouldn't have been that good.
We still talk to parents back from that team, and you just talk to somebody, you immediately get chills.
Yep.
So you're like, if you know kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, as you were telling that story, I was kind of getting chills thinking about it because you truly are never out of it until that final play is done. Whatever sport it may be, you've always got opportunity to come back. And that's a testament to that, and obviously a testament to your coaching, your leadership, the group of girls that you had. So would have loved to have seen that.
I got the video.
Okay.
Trust me, we watch
I
it.
would watch
we
that.
watch it every Friday night. I'm just kidding.
Looking for a little motivation. You're like, all right, let's watch the 2021 state final game. Currently, you guys are number 4 in 5A with a 9-3 record and have not lost a match at home yet this year. What makes Mosley volleyball so good year in and year out?
I think it's the culture.
Yeah.
I was talking to a kid last night on the bus. We played Childs last night, and it was a tough loss. It was our only loss we've had in the state of Florida this year, and I'm one of those. I believe in playing bigger, better competition.
Yeah.
I think that's what prepares you. The year we won state, we lost 8 games, and I was proud because I feel like lessons are best learned in a loss.
100%.
When you're winning, you're not really reevaluating. So not that I want to lose, but I do think lessons are learned that way. So last night on the way back from Childs, we got our teeth kicked in pretty good. They're the defending state champion from last year, and they're ranked number 1 in the state this year. So number 1 was playing number 4 last night, and we kind of had eyes opened a lot last night of what we need to do better. But I was talking about culture and kids buying in and making sure everybody on this team this year was bought in. And I said, if you take a troubled kid and you put them in a situation of where there's 10 other really good kids, high achievers, and that one troubled kid gets put in that group, they naturally adapt and they want to be part of that group. And so I feel like at Mosley, that's kind of the expectation, and the ask is the buy-in. Like, if you're coming here, these are the expectations. And it's funny, I've talked to other coaches, and I kind of feel like I should probably give some kind of demonstration or some kind of presentation, because I feel like I don't have the issue kids missing practice, showing up late, whatever. Like, it doesn't exist in my program. And the reason is it's an expectation. Like, this is what's achieved. And I recently talked to a coach, same school, different sport, and he asked me to talk to his team. And I walked in there and there was only like 6 kids in there. I'm like, where's the rest of the kids? And everybody shocked, they don't know. And I'm like, well, who's the captain? Who's the senior? And little girl raised her hand. And I said, so where's your team? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, who's making who accountable?
There's
here?
your
There's
issue
got to
right
be some
there, yeah.
accountability. And a young girl showed up late, and I looked at her and I said, I'm going to call you out. Like, Coach, did you tell Coach you were going to be late? And she said, no. I said, Coach, like, why? Like, why is she not telling you she's going to be late? And I'm like, here's your issue. Like, who is making who accountable? Who's stepping up to the plate? Who's saying, okay, I'm going to lead, come follow me.
Yeah.
And everybody's just kind of existing. And so we talked a lot about that. But so I feel like at Mosley, there is a tradition and there's an expectation and there's a culture that people have to kind of step into or don't.
Yeah.
And don't be on the team. Like, in all the years I've been at Mosley, I've only had to let one kid go. And I've had 2 kids quit in 14 years. And I kind of pride myself on that because here's what the expectations are.
Yeah.
And if you can't, and I'm okay with that, I will hug you and wish you well if you don't want to kind of get in my boat because we're going this way. If you don't feel like you can do that anymore, I would rather almost cut off my wrist, my finger, my arm to save the whole body if it means I've got to part ways. But I'll part ways amicably. I'm not upset.
Yeah.
We've all got to be moving in the same direction.
Yep. You have to have everybody working, like we said earlier with the state championship team. Everybody bought in and was moving to the same direction, all that stuff.
And it's going to change. I think a lot of times kids, they're all excited that they made the team in August.
Yeah.
And the parents are excited. Everybody's bought in, like, woo! And then after they realize, well, shoot, I'm not going to play a whole lot. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm working. I'm showing up every single day like everybody else. Kids kind of lose that lust, and that's when it kind of, it creates cracks in the foundation and frustration. And, at that point, I'm like, I hate it, but if you can't buy into what your role is, and your roles can change at any given time or given moment, and if you can't buy into it, like, okay, I'm just going to wish you well, and we're going to keep moving on.
Well, I feel like that's it's such an instant gratification world right now. And,
gosh.
If you can't, why can't I just show up and be playing? It's not that. You have to, and kind of what you were talking about earlier with the loss last night to Childs, I feel like you probably are kind of not happy, but a loss during a season when you're trying to have a really good year, it gives you the opportunity to kind of reset, figure out what's wrong. And sometimes a loss in a season can go a long, long way, to the overall success of the program going forward.
I agree. I think there's good losses and there's bad losses. The good losses that you've lost and you're like, okay, we need to reevaluate. Maybe we need to learn how to do this a little bit better. It's last night, unfortunately, a loss is a loss, but it to me, in my eyes, I thought it was a good loss. And we're going to play them again at home in a couple weeks, and then we will eventually meet them, God willing, in the regional playoffs. And I told the girls, like, no matter how tonight goes, we're going to look at it, evaluate it, and we're going to play them at least 2 other times.
Yeah.
And we need to be where we need to be that third time. That's the most important.
Get your revenge.
Important game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And, the regular season is the regular season. But once you make the playoffs, you lose, you're out. And, you have the opportunity to learn from this loss and hopefully get them at home. And then, God willing, like you said, if you see them in the playoffs, you'll take them out of the regional tournaments.
Absolutely. 25 practice games. That's the way I look at a season.
Yeah. No,
25
absolutely.
practice games is the real deal.
You just got to win enough of those practice games to make it to the playoffs. Talk about some of the players that are on your team right now, these leaders that you're talking about, the people that are keeping that culture together, and obviously some of your big performers on the court as well. If there's a few, I know you don't want to
I hate to call it too many. I really do. Like, I've got both of my senior setters. They were on my team last year. They're on the team this year, and they're just great leaders. They are. They're high achievers both in the classroom and on the court. So I'm super proud of that. But again, I hate to call anybody out individually, but I do. I've got some really, really high achievers. I've got a great libero moved here from Texas that has She's actually breaking some records right now. She's doing a solid job. Really impressed with her.
Jay, do you know what a libero is?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, Coach Mass
Yeah,
can
go-
let you know.
Yeah, so the
Please.
libero is the back row player. She wears a different color jersey.
Okay.
Yep,
I might have
and
wondered
she
why
can,
one person's wearing a different color
yep,
jersey.
and so
Now
she
you
can
know.
kind of come in and out. So she can kind of come in and out as she needs to.
Oh, like a switch or a designated hitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like a DH. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she can kind of do that. But so I've got a libero who moved here from Texas, and then I have another player who moved here from Michigan.
Oh, wow.
In total, though, I have in my whole program, I've had 8 transfers. I've had kids transfer from Arnold, which I have a huge outside outside right side. God, the kid can play anywhere. She moved over from Arnold. I've got a kid from Bay. I've got some kids from Bozeman. So it's been nice to feel. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways because you've got these kids who've transferred over because they want to be part of your program, but unfortunately, you've only got so much room for so many kids, and
Yeah.
and so kids who thought they were going to have a role last year sat on the bench. This team looks a little bit different this year because you had some transfers move in, and I make no apologies. I play to win.
Right?
Yeah.
I play to win.
At that level, there's no more everybody gets to play. You're playing to win a state championship.
Yep, absolutely.
The fact that you brought that whole transfer thing up, I want to ask you kind of a loaded question.
Oh, jeez.
Obviously, we know what's going on with Coach Griffin at Arnold right now. He was suspended for illegal recruiting activities. How much is the fact that there's school choice being this double-edged sword when it comes to, obviously kids can come, and I know there's a process that needs to be followed, but is the school choice kind of leading that opportunity to potentially have these violations that, whether they're valid or not, that's not the point. Is it kind of one of those things that it's kind of setting things up for failure? I know this is a very loaded question.
It's a very loaded question, and I will tell you, because of my day job, I'm blessed to know all these coaches personally. I've sat in Griff's office, Jeremy Brown's office, Kevin Pettis' office, basketball, Roddy Ross, Mike Memon. I mean, I could go on and on. I know.
Yeah, everybody.
I know everybody in Bay County when it pretty much comes to coaching, and so, for me, I'm part of the old school vibe kind of thing. Like I believe in tradition.
Yeah.
And I believe if you went to school there, your parents went to school there, that's where you really should go to school. And I think we've opened this Pandora's box of allowing, and I'm not going to lie, I have benefited from it personally at Mosley.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. This year I've benefited from it. Last year I benefited from it. And so for me, I get it, but I do think it's getting out of hand. I think kids having the opportunity to play at 3 different schools in one given year, if they play 3 different
insanity.
sports, that is definition of insanity. There's got to be some limitations there. But as a parent, and my child did play very competitive sports, I kind of see the double-edged sword. And if there is a school and they're not performing, should you be stuck there because you want your kid to play at the next level?
Yeah.
So I do understand that aspect of it as well. And I'll be honest, it's really hard nowadays to get coaches to want to coach.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of coaches are walking away from coaching because of the drama, the parents, the everything that's asked of them. And let's be honest, they get paid peanuts. Like they get paid $4,000 or $5,000 a year or next to nothing. And all this is put on them, all these restrictions, and I think it's making harder and harder for coaches to want to stay into coaching.
Yeah,
and
which is
therefore,
sad.
I think parents want their kids to play for coaches that, are a little bit more seasoned. So I get it. I can't say necessarily agree with the school, everybody having options, but I don't disagree with it either. I'm kind of like, I'm impartial, but I do think it's a fine line that really is. And I could really deep dive into this with you, Ryan. I could, because to me, I see, even though, like, if you look at a football, let's just start a school success in general, and it starts with the beginning of school. And football is the heavy hitter when it comes to sports in high school. So if a high school is having a very successful football season, the school pride, the buy-in from the whole student body completely raises.
Yep.
And that kind of transcends to volleyball season, and everybody, the pep clubs are excited. Everybody's buying it.
The culture around the school is much more positive
Absolutely.
and excited. Yeah.
So back in the day when it was a little bit more even spread and you didn't have the school choice and it was more competitive. Like I haven't lost a county game in volleyball since 2017. But back before then, boy, Arnold and I used to have this huge, it was incredible. When I say incredible, like you couldn't, if you didn't get there for the game, like early, you weren't getting a seat kind of. High school volleyball game, it was that intense. It has now shifted. And Bay High, I'll be honest, even the Bay High games used to be so exciting. But now I feel like because of the shift of school choice, and some schools are so heavily loaded, that it goes back to that school pride, that school buy-in, and kids and just not getting as excited to be there. And so it's heavy loaded to a few schools of where it used to be a little bit more equal spread out. So that's kind of the issue I have, because I do feel like that's what's happening in Bay County and in Florida by allowing this school choice. Like it's got out of hand.
It almost drives down competition.
It does.
Which at the end of the day, obviously you want to be successful. You want to win state championships. You want to win regional championships, districts, all that stuff. But playing competitive, exciting games also goes a long way for those athletes as well. So
yeah, it's school pride. The thing that gets me, because I work in an industry that has a lot to do with school culture, school spirit.
Yeah.
That I really feel like there's been such a huge shift in that, because coaches are building mega programs.
Yeah.
And it's taking away from other schools, and and the students of the other schools are suffering. But anyway,
no doubt.
that's my
We could
soapbox.
talk about that for hours.
We could.
Couple more questions real quick on the volleyball side. How important is the booster club and administration at Mosley to support the success of a team?
Hands down, without a doubt, huge shout out. I've got the best booster club in Bay County. I'm not kidding. For years, it's one of those, and I actually had a conversation with my booster club president yesterday. Shout out Carrie. But we're loading up the bus. I want for nothing. We're going to Childs yesterday. Somehow a magic fairy brings us Chick-fil-A for the kids to eat on the bus. And it's not just Chick-fil-A. There's grapes and little individual Ziploc baggies and fruit and apples and cookies from Sam's and chips and all this magic stuff that I have no idea.
Yeah.
I kind of have an idea who coordinates it, but it just shows up and people are there and the buy-in. And so when I was talking to my booster club president yesterday, she said, and I told her, I said, man, it's like running a small business. Like it's legit small business, because, we have to fundraise our money. We figure out how to pay for everything we need. And again, it's bougie. We take travel buses everywhere we go. It's real kind of, we stay in nice hotels. We want for nothing. The girls have a lot of nice gear, and, but it's because the parents buy into it. But my booster club president said last year, we have a whole binder. It's a 3-ring binder, and they pass it from from person to person over a couple of years. And she said, everybody feels like they got to do it just a little bit better than last year.
It's that competitive
It's
side
a
of
little
things.
bit, but it's grown to this massive,
awesome.
massive thing that it's wonderful. I mean, we've got a fish fry on the 19th that Abrams Seafood, Tarpon Docks, they're helping us handle to help. We got a big tournament. We're going down to Orlando for it's a cancer tournament.
Nice.
Very excited to go to Orlando, but we're doing this fish fry to kind of help fund our event down there. But the amount of buy-in, like I don't even know how everything's happening. Like I just know, like, we're gonna make a lot of money and our trip's paid for, and I'm like, but it's wonderful because I don't have to worry about that. Like when I started at Mosley 14, 15 years ago, like, it's like, oh my gosh, do we have enough to buy uniforms this year? Do we have enough to buy T-shirts, and do we have enough to pay for the buses, and do we have enough to bless some volunteers at the end of the year? Like, we're so worried, but like I've been blessed that I don't have to worry about that because the parents buy in. So that's been great. The administration, I'm still at Mosley. This is my 14th year, and it's because they support me. I can't say I'm always right. I'm human. I make errors. I try my best, and sometimes it's not always the right call, but I would tell you the administration backs me and they support me, and I appreciate that.
Hey, Sounds like the key word for success is for everybody, top to bottom, is buy in.
Buy in.
Buy in and have a good culture, and you can be successful too. Last question. What would be some advice you would give to middle school or younger volleyball players who want to play in high school?
Oh gosh, this is a box. I'm telling you, how long is this show? Because we could go on for a couple hours. I'm gonna get on the travel kick here, and we have created this culture that, unfortunately, for kids to play at the next level and to play, honestly, at Mosley, you can't just wait. Like when I grew up, you played when school started, and when the season was over, you didn't play again until next year. We've now created this culture. If you don't play for 9, 10 months a year, you're not going to make the team. And at the end of the day, like if kids want to play, they have got to figure out, how do you play more than just the 3, 4 months in high school? You got to join some kind of travel league, and unfortunately, a lot of travel leagues are very expensive.
Yeah.
So there's fundraising that goes in that. But I will tell you, I think the city, and there's some parks and recs and some recreational leagues that are trying to step up to fill some kind of voids there, because travel ball is very expensive. I mean, thousands. I mean, I've heard horror stories where parents have had to take out $10,000 loans to pay for their kid to play travel ball. And they know if they don't play travel ball, they're not going to make the high school team. And I hate that, because I grew up, again, I played volleyball, basketball, ran track. I mean, I did it all. But now kids, unfortunately, can't do that. But I'm a huge believer in multi-sport athlete.
Yeah.
Like, I think kids need to play other sports. I think kids need time off in summer. Like in June, I don't want to see kids in June. And I encourage kids. But what has happened is these kids play volleyball from July to November for me. Then they go play travel ball from November to May. And now they're playing AAU that runs right through to the end of June.
Yep.
And then high school starts again. And so there's this burnout factor that's happening. But unfortunately, we're the problem, because now we've created, you're not going to make my team, or your chances are very limited because you haven't played travel ball. If you're not playing travel ball and paying the travel fees, you don't have a shot. So it's this kind of vortex of
it's the cycle of
it is. And unfortunately, I hate that's the way it's gotten. But in most sports, it's gotten that way. You look at baseball.
Baseball's probably the worst of all of them. These kids are playing all the time. And I get it, because reps matter. But at the same time, like, you could go broke trying to support your kid just to be able to play high school sports.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's wild.
So anyway.
And it's kind of, like you said, we've kind of created that in our own sports culture.
And again, I'm not going, I receive the benefits of a kid playing 9, 10 months a year without a doubt. Like, because I would tell you, 95% of my kids play travel ball. So I do benefit from it, but I'm a big proponent for, you've got to take time off. I try to encourage the kids after travel ball in May, take a couple months off, get a summer job, sit at the beach, make snow cones, like do something like
Other
to be,
than volleyball,
yes. And, unfortunately, we're a very competitive culture that a lot of parents are like, no, if my kid takes 2 months off, they're going to be behind. They're going to get a scholarship. And,
Speaking of scholarships, I want to ask you this. How often do y'all have recruiters at your high school games? Because at the Jamboree for the middle school this year, I was sitting next to a recruiter who was asking me what our team was, name, and was videotaping. And I was like, middle school?
So that's kind of a loaded question, and I'll tell you why. So most colleges don't send, and this goes, again, how long is this podcast? Most colleges don't show up to high school games anymore at all. And the reason is our seasons are at the same time.
Yep.
So very rarely do I have a college where years ago I would have some, but now all the recruiting is done during travel ball.
Travel ball, yeah.
And so it's done during travel ball, but like recruiters you may be talking to, because now there's this whole market and niche for people who go and they'll be like, okay, I will represent your daughter, pay me $5,000, and I will walk her through the recruiting process. And at one point, my daughter was part of that. And this is before we went through with what we went through with my son, but it was my daughter's senior year. We hired a recruiter who took video. We built highlight reels. They looked into the colleges where kids were graduating, and so my daughter was, an outside. So what colleges were graduating outside the year that she was graduating, and so there's a whole market for that where people go out and they're like, okay, and that's how they make their living is I'll represent 200 athletes, try to find them scholarships, and they kind of use that. So they'll go around to middle schools and be like, oh, your daughter's pretty good. I think she may have a chance. Let me help her through the recruiting process. They reach out to you. Next thing you're on the hook for $2, $3, $4, $5,000, and they may work with you for 2, 3, 4 years to help get her a scholarship. And that does work. I'll be honest. Like, even in my daughter's case, she got multiple college offers to play in college because we went through that process. And then also it takes it off the parents and the kids. And, usually if you get a good one, and there's a guy out of Pensacola that his name's Dennis Rossell, who I highly recommend, but he does a great job as far as helping kids who want to play at the next level get there, but there are fees associated with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the case with most sports for sure.
Yeah.
But even like, you said the recruiting thing, even on the football side of things, you're not really seeing them come to high school games anymore. They're going to all those 7-on-7 tournaments and all those different events. And, of course, if your kid is good enough, they're going to get found one way or the other. To a certain degree, but enjoyed all that conversation about volleyball. I know we could have went a long way.
I want to mention one more thing about the volleyball. Callie, that what y'all
Oh,
did.
yes.
Oh.
She was on our volleyball team, or
Yeah,
our volleyball team.
I had coached Callie a couple times in rec ball.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet family.
So, the interesting fact of that, so she would come to our summer camps. We do a summer camp fundraising every summer. And I don't know the family. Like, people are they think like we have this really, like, I really don't know the family. And it was one of those that mom called and said, hey, we're not going, she registered and paid to come to our summer camp. And then she's like, we can't come. Can we get a refund? And I'm always like, oh, it's a fundraiser. Do I really got to give you money back? And I'm like, is everything okay? And that's when she told me she was diagnosed with leukemia. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Let me give you your money back. Like, no problem. But I'm like, can we do something to help? And, and then that was back April, May. And she's like, absolutely, I'll reach out. And then she reached out to us when we got back from tournament in Birmingham. I was like, it just kind of blew up at that point.
Yeah,
and
it was awesome.
We had a drum line and cheerleaders. And
it was fantastic.
She just sent me a picture on Friday. But the wonderful thing about that is then that news article and all that actually generated some interest from some people that want to help finance some just out-of-pocket expenses that, as you and I both know, that we incur when you're dealing with cancer and travel and food and housing and all the stuff that comes with it. But there was a nice little piece that kind of came out from that someone wants to step up and help. So I was appreciative of that.
Yeah, no, that was a special thing.
And the life lessons that those girls learned. The other day they had a prayer for Ryan at Vernon, Liam's football game, and they gathered the kids after the game. We had lost, and Vernon's I don't even know if he was a coach or
he's a coach.
He said to this, I don't know this man, but I know that I have a God that we need to pray over him. And they literally did a prayer over him. And those boys, the life lesson that they learned that day, that's something you just can't. Absolutely. And that's where, like, the sports, sports are sports, and you're competitive and everything. But when you're learning those life lessons, it's just,
bigger than sports.
So I loved that, and I was like, I knew I loved her even more. so
I
yeah,
agree.
that was amazing.
Well,
speaking of how you guys met, obviously had a mutual friend, and she posts all the time on Facebook just to kind of create awareness and all that kind of stuff. And you had reached out to Beth, and you guys kind of connected based on a terrible thing. So obviously would love to hear, kind of let our audience know a little bit about the story of your son, who obviously has a brain cancer diagnosis as well.
Okay, yeah. So oh gosh, this is how much time we get? I keep hitting this microphone. Okay, so
You're fine. That's what we're here for.
Years ago, so when my son was 9, and this is the story you guys haven't heard yet, so you're hearing it for the first time. So when my son was 9, we lived in Texas, and freak accident. He was riding a bike, and they were playing a game of tag with some kids in the neighborhood, and it was basically you ride your bike as fast as you could, and they threw a football, and they try to get you with the football, but it was one of those squishy foam footballs, right? Innocent situation. Kids being kids. And my son was wearing a helmet. And freak accident, the ball goes and it gets stuck in the front spokes of the bicycle. Flips, lands on his head. And we'd only lived at that point in South Texas for like 2 months. And of course, we rushed him to the hospital. They look at his head and they see a small brain bleed, little fracture, and they're looking at him and they're like, oh, he's got a concussion. There's some bruising, typical stuff, right? And as you know, like when you get hit with something, like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so we kind of monitored him for, I think a year and a half. He'd go back and, he had the emotional mood swings, like highs and lows that you get with a concussion. And so that kind of went on for about a year and a half. Fast forward, we moved to Bay County back in 2009. And about, 2 years after we moved here, he was at the country club and he was on the back of a golf cart, 14, 15-year-old boys just horsing around country club. And somebody turned the golf cart too fast. He fell out, hit his head on the curb. Mom calls me, says, Michelle, Dalton's acting kind of weird. You may need to come pick him up. He was supposed to spend the night. So I rush over there, pick him up. Long story short, we take him to a hospital. He's got a concussion. And the doctor calls us out. It's like a scene out of a movie. They're like, can we talk to you and your husband out in the waiting room? And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, we see something on his brain. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we see a mass in his head. And I'm like, okay, we're very aware of this because this is the same spot we've been monitoring since he was 9. So very aware. They're like, do you have the scans and everything that goes with that? And I said, yeah. I always kept, and this is when you used to keep the old scan for the disc and everything.
Yeah,
I'm
with
like,
the disc,
I've kept them all. They're at home. I'll go get them. So drive home, and this is 11 o'clock at night. Drive home, pick up the scans. They said, well, if it all looks the same spot when he was younger, we'll let you go. So they did. They looked at the scans. They're like, it's the same spot when he was 9. Everybody called it bruising. And they sent us home. So fast forward that morning, he's still throwing up from this concussion. I'm a little concerned. So we take him to a different hospital. And that hospital has access to, the scans from when he was 9, the scans when now he's 15. And they're all looking at him and they're like, okay, same spot, whatever. He stays in the hospital for 2 days and they send us home. That's it. That's it. Okay. So then my son joins the military when he graduates high school at 17. He joins he wants to join the military right away because he wants to follow his dad. His dad was in the military. And I beg him, let's go to college. And anyway, we agree. We're going to wait a year. After a year, he still wanted to join the military. We'll join the military. And so he did. He waited a year. And after, his 18th birthday, right after his 19th birthday, he decides he wants to join the military. So I support him, joins the Army. He gets stationed in Germany. And he's 2 weeks away from going to Ranger Selection School because he wants to be a Ranger.
Wow.
He's 6'5", 225, ripped.
Kind of built for it, yeah.
Ripped, absolutely the best shape of his life. And I'll never forget, I was headed to UWF to watch one of my kids play in a volleyball tournament there. She had graduated. She was playing at AUM in Montgomery, and they were playing West Florida. And I was like, I'm going to go support. So I remember having the phone docked on the car dashboard, and, it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night in Germany. And I was FaceTiming my son, and, he had just got one of those Fire Sticks. I just shipped it to Germany. He was very fired up about it. Like, he was installing it. We were talking, and I was like, all right. And so I go to the game, and, I'm there watching the game. Kids are warming up. Put my phone down on vibrate and pick up my phone, an hour later, and, I've got all these missed phone calls, and I'm like, what's going on? My husband tells me he's in the back of the ambulance. He just had a seizure. And I'm like, a seizure? Like, what? Like, he's never had a seizure. Like, where's this coming from? And, but, he was on this broccoli chicken diet, like doing nothing but protein and a pre-workout mix, and because he was trying to get ripped for this Ranger thing. And so I'm like, okay, it's obviously something, because we'd never experienced a seizure, didn't know anything about that life, and didn't think much of it. Took him to the ambulance, and long story short, they take him to a hospital, and they say, you've got a brain tumor. And we're like, I was like, wait, nope. I got all the scans. This is not a brain tumor. I've got him from when he was 9. We've been looking at the spot for, 9 years. It's not a brain tumor. Come to find out, it was stage 3 brain cancer. And doctors, several of them, several hospitals from Texas to everybody had missed it.
Yeah.
And I was really angry for a long time, like really angry. I'll never forget, called local attorney here, and I wanted to sue everybody. I was angry. I was so angry. I'm like, how did everybody miss this? And then I had to get to a place of peace because, you know, it is what it is. Like in his situation, it's a terminal diagnosis, unfortunately, and you just manage it. You know, it's just long-term management of how you manage it. And I had to get to a place of peace because he, instead of being a childhood kid at 9 years old and having childhood cancer, you know, my son rode dirt bikes and four-wheelers and went fishing and did the stupid boy stuff like climbing trees and falling out of them that had I known at 9 years old,
You'd have been more.
I would have put him in a bubble. And you know, and very blessed that he was able to join the military. The military was able, you know, he got honorably discharged, medically discharged, retired from the military. The military's been great for him. He's 100% disabled. It has helped with all of that. He has health insurance, VA, so that's been wonderful. When he got out of the military, I'm sorry, when he got released from the military, finished chemo, you know, he did a year of chemo, 6 weeks of radiation. I don't know, he's probably on his 8th surgery at this point, just different surgeries, but he joined the sheriff's office. He just finished chemo, and I always say he's just a miracle in himself, but he finished chemo and he is just like, he missed that hoorah team atmosphere with military. And so he went through a police academy and became a sheriff's deputy.
Wow.
And so he works for Bay County Sheriff's Office. And for a long time, he was a patrol deputy and loved that life. He loved, and, you know, he's got a lot of great stories of where he saved several lives, being first on scene and whatnot. And unfortunately, you know, he started having seizures again a couple years ago, and he doesn't drive anymore. So he does work at the Warrants Division off on Star Avenue, and he does a lot of good stuff out there. He, you know, it's sad because you never know what could have been.
Yeah.
You know, because he really, like, he wanted the dream. He wanted to be a ranger. He wanted all these things, and unfortunately, you know, that kind of got taken from him. And as you know, you have to mourn the loss of the life you thought you were going to have. And so that was hard for a long time, because you want all of these things, and you see all of these things literally being stripped from you and taken from you, and you're casualty of the situation, and it's hard. It's still hard. And, you know, I'm blessed that, you know, he did get married 3 years ago to a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful girl. And in January, we're going to have our first grandbaby. And so we're very excited about that. You know, that wasn't, unfortunately, everything, as you know, is 10 times harder.
Yes.
Beth, I see you crying, and I get it. And I'm trying to hold it back. But, you know, for them, they couldn't have kids naturally.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very happy that someone gave us the insight to make sure he was always going to have that option.
Yes.
And so, you know, they went through IVF, and blessed it happened on the first try, which is a blessing because that doesn't happen for everybody. A lot of times people have to do it multiple times, and little baby Monroe will be here at the end of January. So we're super pumped. So anyway, it's a blessing. So
no doubt. And you got to kind of shift your focus, right, on what's really important. Obviously, all that stuff gets stripped away. It's awful. It's terrible. But then if you can kind of pull back and be like, look, I'm still here. I've still got things I can accomplish, stuff I want to do. And then, of course, them having a baby is probably the best thing that's ever going to happen for him. So. Yeah,
he wants to be a dad. You know, and we're not, as you guys know, and this is the hard stuff to talk about. You know, we're not promised. Yeah. You know, like we all have sand running out of our hourglass. And just for people dealing with cancer, you know, you just see that sand necessarily sometimes going a little bit faster. And so you're trying to make the most of everything you have when you're having it. And there for a while, and this is just completely raw honesty, like we weren't, my husband and I, and my son and his wife both know this, like we weren't sure about a baby for them.
Yeah.
And because you're like, well, what does that look like? You know, because we aren't promised. But, you know, we believe in God, and we understand, you know what, changes in healthcare has come so far
Yes.
And we're hopeful and we're believers that, that hopefully there will be a cure. There will be something that gives him 10, 20, 30 years and gives him a long, productive life. But
Yeah.
none of us are promised tomorrow. And we just make the best of what we have today. And we're excited about that baby coming. And we hope, we all get a lifetime with her. My son gets a lifetime with
Yeah.
her and walks her down the aisle at her wedding and all that kind of stuff. But the raw honesty of it, like, we were scared. We were scared if this was something, because he still has so many challenges. Like
yeah.
every single day, as you know, the
Yep.
meds, the surgeries, the new stuff you're trying to figure out. Well, what's the next best thing? Because as you guys know, if you're not your biggest advocate,
You're not going to be. You're going to be left behind.
you are. And it's funny. Just as I was sitting in the parking lot about to walk in here, there's with not going into detail who it is, there's a gentleman going through some stuff that they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And my suggestion to him was be your biggest advocate. Sometimes doctors, unfortunately, just like in any profession, they're lazy. Not all are, but some are, and some are the easy fix. Well, let's just throw medicine at you, or let's just cut on you, or let's just do this, because that's what they know and they're comfortable with it. That you have to become an expert in whatever you're going through. And it's crazy because if you would have asked me 10 years ago to talk about oligodendroglioma, is what my son has, what that was, I couldn't even spell it. I remember when the doctor wrote it down, I'm like, what? I can't even say this word. Like, what is, you immediately have to become an expert in that field. And who are the specialists? Who are the best in the country? Where do you go to? Like, and it's crazy to think, like, you weren't even thinking that 10 years ago. And now you've got to become your own expert. And like, who do we ask? Like, I asked you about, like, who do you call and ask if you got a problem? And that's what I think one of my reaching out to you was, giving you hope and talking to you, because it's like, there's, thank goodness for technology now, but I can't imagine what 20, 30 years ago was with somebody. At least we have the internet, we can look things up, but what people went through 20, 30 years ago. So my hope is that there's a treatment and it keeps getting better and people keep diving into it. But anyway.
So speaking on that, we all know people that have had different types of cancers. I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 people I know that have had breast cancer, different things like that. And I'm not discounting any kind of cancer like that, but I think that there's such a small community of brain cancers.
True.
And so this second year of dealing with it, I became a very vocal person and I started advocating, because there's not a lot of people that know about it or understand, or I just wanted to give information out. So, during the month of May, I was doing all my advocacy on that. And you reached out to me. You sent me a message because I believe you'd seen my story from a mutual friend. And I just wanted to say, like, that having somebody in Bay County that knew what I was going through, because you're a mother, and so you're not the one going through it. Like, we know that what they go through is very hard, but having somebody that knows, as the person that is fighting on the outside for them, is something that and then like 2 weeks later, so you had reached out to me, maybe it was a month later, but I got an email back on Ryan's volleyball, and she's gone to Mosley's volleyball camp every summer. And I looked at it and it said Coach Mask, and I was like, "There's no way, like Mask. Your last name isn't something that you just see every day." And so I was like, "That's Coach Mask. I didn't even know you were a coach when you reached out to me. You reached out to me as a mother and a caregiver and a person that is dealing with the same type of thing." And so come to find out, when the first day of practice, you actually had to show up and everything because his MRI
you make me cry.
got scheduled for the same time, and you couldn't get away from the volleyball camp because you had already pre-committed to it. And at the same exact time, Ryan was having an MRI at the same day.
I remember that now.
Yep.
I remember that now.
I just hugged you when I got
were in
there,
that lobby. Yep.
We knew it was at the same time that day. We talked and everything, and like watching you out on that court, knowing what you were going through, it made me want to fight harder too, because I'm like, I know what she's feeling right now, and she's still out there showing up for people, for her son, and for everything that she stands for. She's being a strong woman right now, and I just appreciated that.
Aw,
And
thank you.
Yeah, that meant a lot to me. And it did my daughter as well, because she knew what you were going through. And so, you think about, you're out there, well, she's out there too. And so
we're all going through this
Yes,
together, and
yes.
like we carry, it's this invisible backpack of weight.
Yes.
And a lot of times when you're dealing with brain cancer, that you don't see outwardly so
Yeah.
much. Like, you look great, you know. And a lot of times people will look at my son and they don't realize all the struggles he goes through,
Right.
because on the outside you look great.
Yeah.
Like, but they don't understand, like, gosh, you're having the headaches, or just, oh gosh, the diarrhea and the meds, and I like all this kind of stuff. I mean, the small arsenal of meds that my son takes in a day, is just astronomical. But, it's the putting on that brave face. And one of the things I do when I'm coaching, I always tell my girls, you never know what other people are going through. Be kind.
Just be kind to everybody.
You just be kind.
Yeah.
Like, we're carrying heaviness that people will never understand on a daily basis. Like, are we going to is it going to be a good day? Is it going to be a bad day? Do I have to stay home? Can I go to work? And I'm blessed that I have the ability to work from home. And, but the volleyball thing has, it does have its struggles, because that day that you're talking about, they had saw a spot in April that they were concerned because, as y'all both know, the cancer can come back at any time.
Yeah.
And it could be, and some people go years, some people go days, months, weeks. And it's like they have surgery and then 2 weeks later it's back. And then other people may go 10, 20 years. And, knock on wood here, we're blessed. He was diagnosed officially he was diagnosed in 2017, but come to find out, he's had the tumor since he was 9.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the, when is it coming back? Just it's a high recurring, rate. I'll never forget the day the doctor told me that, it was terminal. And it took me years to be able to tell people that, my son has a terminal diagnosis, but in reality, aren't we all terminal at some point? You
It's
know what I'm
just how
saying?
long,
It goes back to that hourglass. Like, when you see your sand, you just, sometimes some people's sand is just moving a little bit faster than others. But, I think at the end of the day, we're all on borrowed time. So live the best life you can while
That's
you can,
it.
and be a good human.
100%. Be a good human. I had wrote down be kind on here.
Yeah.
You guys nailed that. Jay?
No,
Jay?
you're a testament to that. Because look, I mean, I've known you for years, Mulvey, and you. When we were on the radio, that was what we've always talked about, is just be kind, and no matter. So, it's not that you're going through this and this is something you've adopted, dude. You've had this. You've been kind from day one, man.
I try.
And
Love that.
It's a choice.
it
I always
is.
said that on the radio.
You've said that.
You wake up every morning, you can choose to be positive or you can choose to be negative.
Yep.
I choose to be positive.
Amen.
And it just makes life a lot easier.
That's right.
all
Ryan,
the
you-
teams you coach, you inspire them. I mean, he came back from, I don't know if you know this, but he had his first craniotomy. He came back and coached 2 nights later a flag football
Isn't that
team.
amazing?
Yeah. And those boys, the life lessons I'm talking about, they learned something. And just even yesterday, I mean, one of his old players, comes over and, hey, coach, and just it. So I know that you go through a lot, but what you're doing for the youth and for your own children
Yep.
it's amazing, and I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Ryan, I need to get you and Dalton in a room together, because
That'd be
I will
good.
tell you,
Yeah.
just the positive, like, it's a
Yes.
choice.
Yeah.
And I see so much of you and him, just as far as your attitude.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Crappy situation, but
Yep.
just the positives that you're just exemplifying. And it just reminds me so much of, like, I think you two could feed off each other. Like, because it's not always going to be an easy day.
Yeah.
Beth,
Right.
you and I both know that.
100%.
But sometimes you just want to punch the wall,
Yeah.
kick the wall,
Yeah.
But no, I love seeing, I mean, you look great, and I am so happy to know you.
I'm very appreciative you came on today. And of course, getting back to the kids, like if it's such a crappy situation, like you said, if there's a few things you can do with your situation, quote unquote, that can help people, why would you not?
Amen.
And that's kind of how I look at every day. So, but I'm obviously blessed here to be able to do my own podcast as well and have wonderful people like y'all on with me as well. Jay, we may talk about a few sports.
Okay.
I do need to mention all the high school games, high school football games coming up this weekend as well. I am going to do the Arnold PA JV game this evening, so I'm kind of looking forward to that as well. Look out, Steve Moss, I'm coming for you. One day. He's got to retire at some point,
That's
right?
right.
He's been doing it forever. All right, coming up tomorrow night, no Thursday night game. This Thursday, North Bay Haven will be traveling to 5-0 Bloomingdale. That's North Bay Haven volleyball. North Bay Haven, they must be playing in a tournament. North Bay Haven football is going to Graceville. Both teams are 0-3. One of them will get their first victory of the season. 0-2 Rutherford traveling to 0-3 Holmes County. Hopefully Rutherford coach Floyd can get something done up there in Holmes County and maybe get a good win to get that team going this season. He does a wonderful job with the Rutherford Rams, and we are definitely cheering for him to get a victory up there at Holmes County. You've got Mosley traveling again on the road, back-to-back road games, trying to go to 3-1 as they take on 0-2 Navarre. And then you've also got, Cottondale and Freeport. That is at Freeport. Freeport is having a great season so far. They are 3-0. Cottondale's 1-1, trying to spoil the perfect season there for Freeport. Destin's got a game on the road at Pensacola. Destin 1-1. Pensacola 0-3. Bozeman taking on Mariana, who is 0-2. Bozeman coming off that tough loss to a very, very good football team. And really the only home game in the area is the 0-2 Escambia team traveling to Tommy Oliver Stadium to take on the 3-0 Bay Tornadoes, who are having a hell of a season and looking to make it 4-0 after they host Escambia tonight. The Arnold Marlins take the trip down 98 to South Walton. Arnold is 1-1 coming off their victory 2 weeks ago. They had a bye last week. South Walton also is 2-0 on the season, and that'll do it for all your high school football games coming up. You guys got any games these next few days?
No, next week's big. We play Chipley on Tuesday, and then we go to North Bay Haven and play North Bay Haven on Wednesday next week. So, yeah.
Nice. I will definitely make sure I keep up with all the Mosley volleyball action. Jay.
Yes.
Thursday night football tonight.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about we got
Commanders and the Packers in Green Bay.
Holy crap. You actually know what it is.
I know. This is crazy.
What is today?
I watched SportsCenter before it came on.
Did you? Smart. Did you research?
It's funny. You never did that once on the radio. What do you think? Obviously, Commanders and Packers both 1-0 going into tonight's. It should be a close battle. You got Jaden Daniels taking on that good Green Bay Packers defense. They had a good showing against the Lions in week 1, although the Lions typically don't play too great in outdoor games. Packers are -3 at home. Jordan Love coming off a good week 1 victory. What do you think? Packers -3 or Commanders +3?
I think the Packers pull it out 21-20. So don't bet the money line.
Okay.
Don't do the money line.
Bet the money line is what you're saying. Not because the Packers won't cover.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So then you should take the Commanders +3 at -105.
There you go.
You just think Green Bay is going to win outright, but the Commanders with the points.
It'll be a very close game.
I think the Commanders, Jaden Daniels is a little different quarterback than Jared Goff. He can scramble. He can get outside of the pocket. Jared Goff couldn't really escape the rush of the Packers last week. I think the Commanders are going to win this one outright. I do like the under in the over-under 49 because, like you said, I think a 20-ish to 20-ish kind of game. Jaden Daniels is the difference in this game coming up for me. College football, your Georgia Bulldogs heading up to Rocky Top.
Oh, boy.
What do you think about that game?
Well, if we play like we did against Austin P, it could be very interesting.
Yeah, y'all did really dominate the old P team.
Well, no, 28-6. It should have been 55 to 0. In my opinion.
Indeed.
But I don't know. We'll see. I think the Bulldogs pull it out. Another very close ball game Saturday afternoon in Rocky Top. Yep.
Georgia is currently -3.5 over under 49.5. First real big SEC matchup so far this year in the football world. You got a couple other good games on, but that Georgia-Tennessee is really going to highlight your week 2 slate. Then, of course, you got your whole NFL slate coming up this weekend as well. Want to give a quick shout out to American Charlie's, also located over there in the Edgewater Shopping Plaza. And, of course, Firefly as well, but everybody knows Firefly. Fantastic food. But American Charlie's, they've just debuted a new menu. They've got live music. They've got tons of TVs. And they always give discounts for military and first responders. They're also the sponsor of our Athlete of the Week competition, which will get kicked back up again next week, giving away a $50 American Charlie's gift card. Coach Mask, I so appreciate you coming on the show today. This has been,
you guys.
Obviously the topics are, tough topics, but the overall, we could have probably done this for multiple hours and really enjoyed it, and looking forward to going and checking the girls out in a game this year.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope to see you guys
Beth, I appreciate you coming on. Jay, always appreciate you coming on. Leave us with a what?
What? Oh, go Dogs.
Thank you. Are you really a Georgia fan?
Have a great day all day. That's my saying.
There you go. There you go. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll have it up on the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, and all those good places coming up tomorrow. We'll be back next Tuesday. Y'all have a great weekend. Go out and check out some high school sports. And, of course, cheer on your favorite team. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.